Good morning, Bimblers. And you join me at the pierhead in Liverpool. We ended up back here a few weeks back on a coach from Heysham after we'd been over in the Isle of Man, and we had to stay the night in an Airbnb because the ferry was cancelled. And as we came back into Liverpool on that coach, we went down the old Dock Road, and that got me to thinking, is there anything down there that you might like to know about? So let's stop messing about and let's bimble.
Things to show me, but life just keeps turning back.
There's been a church here in Liverpool since the 1200s, since the reign of Henry III. That church was the Chapel of St Mary, but that was deemed to be too small, and in 1355 they built another chapel and they dedicated that to St Nicholas. He's the patron saint of all sailors and merchants, so he was perfect for Liverpool. According to my big book of Bimble, he was also the patron saint of all toy makers, pawnbrokers, repentant thieves, brewers and unmarried people. Plus he was Father Christmas. The population of Liverpool kept getting bigger and bigger, and with that, St Nicholas's church got bigger and bigger. They also built another church called St Peter's Church, which actually became the Cathedral of Liverpool, at least for a bit, whilst they were building the Anglican Cathedral. But in between those times, there was a rather large accident here at St Nicholas's Church. On Sunday the 11th of February 1810, the spire fell down when the church was full. It actually killed 25 people, and of those 25 people, only 3 of them were adults, the rest were children, mostly girls from the Moorfields Charity School. A new tower was built by a chap called Thomas Harrison. He was a fella from Yorkshire who lived in Chester. He put the clock on top of Lancaster Museum. He also built the Mersey Bridge in Warrington, which was replaced by the Mersey Bridge in Warrington. Well, part of that bridge is still there. I covered it in a previous Bimble. Unfortunately, during the Blitz, the nave of St Nicholas's Church was gutted by fire, so it had to be rebuilt again by an Edward C. Butler in 1949. Let's bimble.
With time, you still know me. We just keep facing back to the way things were before. It should plainly show what we're meant to know. We have a motive, we have the time. We were meant to lead extraordinary lives, edged over lines. Days keep moving, but time just keeps falling back to the way things were before. It just proves to me how it's meant to feel. We have a motive, we have the time. We were meant to lead extraordinary lives. It just proves to me how it's meant to feel. We have a motive, we have the time. We were meant to lead extraordinary lives.
Where we are right now, Bimblers, is a part of Liverpool called the 10 Streets, because there's 10 streets. They're some of the oldest dock streets in the whole world. I'm sure every one of those streets has a long history and a story to tell, but we've not got enough time to tell them all. On Dublin Street, they took two very famous sets of photographs. One set in 1962 of the Beatles, just after Ringo Starr entered the picture. You can tell it's a very early photograph of the Beatles because George Harrison is still wearing a leather jacket in some of the pictures. They're all wearing crumpled suits which hadn't been ironed, which I'm sure Brian Epstein would have told them off for. In 1966, Bob Dylan had his picture took down there, posing with a bunch of kids that live round here, you know, with his big hair and his Ray-Ban shades on. Those pictures only surfaced in 1999, but they're quite iconic. Carlton Street is named after one of the board of directors of the Dublin Steam Packet Company, who had their repair works on Cotton Street here in the 10 Streets. And at the end of Cotton Street used to be a power station, and the towers of that power station were called the Three Ugly Sisters. And if you look on those Beatles pictures, you can see them in the background. It was demolished in 1994, but the Beatles connection doesn't end there. On Saltney Street there used to be a courtyard where people lived, and a James Lennon lived there. That was John Lennon's great-granddad. You have Porter Street, named after Thomas Coley Porter. He was once the mayor of Liverpool, and he also owned a lead works around the 10 Streets. And of course, at the end of Vulcan Road, we have one of the very first fireproof warehouses built here in Liverpool. All the other warehouses copied that design, you know, so they wouldn't set on fire. They're all full of tobacco and flammable stuff. Of course, you have the Tobacco Warehouse, which is the largest brick-built building in the whole world. And you have the new Everton Stadium. Let's bimble.
Big plans are easiest to make. Aim for the stars, it's yours, just wait. You do your best along the way. But it's those arms that told me I don't care if it's yours or mine. Without you it's just a waste of time. You showed me from the start, such inspirations need a heart to bring you round. It could be ours, big aspirations need a heart to hold you, heart to hold you down. Though some get lost along the way, as sure as night designed the day, as long as I'm allowed to say, it's my heart that told me I don't care, you just disagree.
It's very noisy on this road and quite smelly. I've got some cast iron stink pipes from the Victorian era, but I don't think that's the smell. It's just the smell of industry. This behind me is one of my favourite things on the old dock road, if not one of my favourite things in the world. It's a big concrete silo. It looks like something that the Nazis dreamed up to put on the moon. It could be in a computer game, but it's actually for something quite sweet. It was originally built as a sugar silo for Tate and Lyle. Sugar would come in from the Caribbean and be brought to the docks here, and it would be sent by conveyor belts over the road into the sugar silo, and on the top it would have a railway to distribute the sugar. My granddad said that this is the reason why his front teeth rotted out, because he used to drive lorries from this sugar silo to Sankey Sugar Works in Earlstown, and the men in the sugar silo used to give him great big lumps of sugar to suck on in his cab as he went along. And that was in the days that lorries only went about 15 miles an hour, so he'd just be sucking on sugar the whole way, and that rotted his front teeth. Anyway, enough about sugar. What about margarine?
Hard to bring you round. It could be ours. Big aspirations need a heart to hold you down. From
I'm trying to shelter out of the rain, Bimblers. The cagoul's back on. I'm sat in a filthy doorway where no doubt 5,000 sailors have had a pee. This old building is in a bit of a sorry state, but it used to be a margarine factory, and before that it was a shipbuilding workshop. It was H&C Grayson, that's Henry and Charles Grayson, and that shipbuilding workshop started in 1760. Henry Grayson was succeeded by his son, Henry Grayson, who was once the MP for Birkenhead in 1918, and he was the High Sheriff of Anglesey in 1917. In 1889, the Graysons were contracted to break up the SS Great Eastern, aka Leviathan, Isambard Kingdom Brunel's giant iron ship. They did that on behalf of a company called Henry Bath and Sons. But you know, before they broke up the SS Great Eastern, it was used as a floating billboard for Lewis's department store, going up and down the Mersey. But it was worth £16,000 to the scrapman, which is about £1.7 million in today's money. It was 19,000 tonnes when it was first launched, and at that point, it was the largest thing to ever be moved by man. When they first launched the SS Great Eastern, it got stuck halfway before it got in the water, and 2 fellas died trying to get it afloat. After they broke it up, they sold one of the masts to Everton FC, and they put it at Anfield. That's right, Everton used to play at Anfield up until 1892, and the mast is still there, in between the Cop and the Kenny Dalglish stand. It's a flagpole. In the 20th century, this became a margarine factory, and they made Pierhead margarine, the cheapest margarine you could get in Liverpool, filled with sunshine vitamins, Merseyside's own margarine. In the 1950s, this became Merseyside Food Products. But I have to say, I wouldn't knowingly eat anything that comes from this dock road, but I'm sure I do. Saying that though, I do quite fancy a hot dog from Costco.
Bimblism Live is coming to a town near you. This month,
The Bull's Head in Warrington on Thursday, the 18th of September at 8 p.m.
tickets are £10 plus a small booking fee, and they're only available from Mr. Bimble, following the QR codes on the screen or from the links in the description. You'll get to see Kieran perform his live show, International Bimble. It's the story of how he got from his old backgate in Warrington over international borders. It's not to be missed. Let's Bimble.